All right. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I don't know where you're at in the world, but wherever you're at in the world, we are so glad that you are part of our podcast today and that you are here. I'm so excited. I get to spend time with some just incredible people every time that I do this. And it's one of my favorite things in life to do is to talk to other folks that are making it happen, other folks that are living boldly in their purpose, other folks that have um, been through whatever they've gone through and come out the other side. Um, Robert, I don't know if you've ever been to one of the black churches here in America, and I kind of grew up going to a Baptist church here, and it's kind of amazing because you usually have like the ladies of the church that are all sitting in the first few rows. They're always wearing all white. They always have these amazing hats on. They're the ones who talk to the preacher the most while he's doing his sermon. And Miss Johnson used to be, a person that I would, as I go and I always say, "Hey, you doing, Miss Johnson?" And she would say, "Going through it, going through it." And then week after week, I would say, "Miss Johnson, how you doing?" And she said, "Going through it, baby, just going through it." And I started thinking later in life, like, did Miss Johnson ever get through anything? Is she always just going through it, or was she just saying that because she was like waiting for the Lord to tarry? Was that the words to say, or was she really in crisis or really going through it her whole life? And then I started thinking about how do we move from going through it to getting through it. And so today you'll see what our guest is, one of those folks who is just doing some phenomenal things in life, but he's not stuck in going through it as the folks of the ladies. And so it's just so neat to see that sometimes. Now I'm not saying he's not going to go through nothing else, or that there isn't any more through it in his life to happen. I'm just saying when you get to the habits of being able to move from where you are to where you want to get, and you get consistent at it all the time. You keep the promises that you make to yourself. You are in alignment. The things that you say and the things that you do are all congruent with the identity that you hold for yourself. And we're going to talk a lot about identity today. But when you think about where people come from in the world and how much tenacity that they have, how much grit they have to have. Sometimes I feel like here in the United States, we get kind of spoiled by all the I don't know what you want to call them, all the things that we get to have in life, our privileges. I think that's a word that gets used a lot these days because for the most part we have pretty good schools that we get to go through. We have electricity that when you turn on the lights, unless you hadn't paid the bill, it usually turns on immediately after. We don't have a lot of blackouts. We don't have, a lot of we have some weather, and you'll see on our coast where we have hurricanes. But I have an assistant, Robert, that's in the Philippines, and it seems like every other month they got some kind of typhoon or something that's hitting the country, and all the things that they have to go through. And so Robert is from Cameroon, and he's been able to live all over the world. I'm going to have him tell his story in a minute, but the life that he has now in Canada is way different than the life that he had in Cameroon. And I know he loves his country and the places that he was able to grow up and living all over the world. But he's got some kind of that grit, that tenacity, that thing that says, hey, no matter what the circumstances, it's all going to be okay. All going to be able to count it joy. So, Robert, thank you for being on today. Thank you for spending your day and your time with us to tell us about how we're going. We were talking right before, and I said, what are you excited about? I said, I'm excited about telling my story and hopefully, influence and exciting and give somebody some inspiration to be able to. So hang on. If you're watching this live, just keep hanging on, and, don't try to take a whole, if you try and take notes, which I think you will, realize you can watch the recording later and put it on pause. So if you're worried about missing something, like for me, when I'm watching it, if I'm worried about missing something, as I'm writing down, I'm missing a whole bunch. I don't want you to do that. I want you to pay attention. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being on. Can't wait to hear your story. The floor is yours, and then we'll chop it up after you're done. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Dr. B, for inviting me. I am humbled for me to be able to meet with your guest today online, and it's a pleasure for me sharing my background, sharing my story. I was born in a Western Central African country called Cameroon, and like every other typical African country, I mean, there are issues of poverty, there are issues of governance, there are issues everywhere. I mean, lots of people live below the poverty line. I was born in a family that was average. So I wouldn't say my family was poor or rich. At least I was born with the working parents, both of them working within the government, one of them working within the legal system as a judge, the other one working as a nurse within the healthcare sector. And so my family was average. I mean, I wouldn't say there weren't any struggles. There were a few things here and there, but at least I could say to a large extent, I lived a comfortable life back home. I was privileged to be able to go through most of my, you know, first level of education, got up to my bachelor's degree, found myself to start working within the government of my country, which was also a privilege for me, simply because I'd always had the mind to serve. And at one point in my very youthful career, I'd always thought to myself, maybe I could become a parliamentarian, a politician, to be able to influence and change principles. It was like a dream. And so even just getting an opportunity to serve within the government was big for me. Was something big. But after a while, not too long, I realized there was just something more that I wanted to do. What I had or what I wanted to do, I realized was even bigger than me. It was just something more that I wanted to lay my hands on, that I wanted to expand. And that made me seek to take on a master's degree outside of the country. And so I was fortunate to travel to Sweden. I did my first master's is in international development. And the goal for me was to get to work within an organization as big as the United Nations, where I could influence policies, poverty, support, work around the world for people really struggling. And so I did my first, master's in Sweden. And after I did that, I felt like it wasn't also enough. And I did another research. It was a master's this time around, but a research that took me around UK, Denmark, and even to Belgium. And so I moved around Europe a little bit, I mean, during the period of that master's, because I was doing some research. And part of that research also landed me within the UN. And I was fortunate after that to get a job within the Danish Refugee Council, which was an arm of the UN. It felt like a dream come true because, yes, this was me working as the manager of information and coordination, supporting relief work across about 25 countries around the world just from my office. I mean, it was major, it was big, it was a milestone. But I still felt that there was something more. I mean, within my travels around North America, that was the States and Canada, finally ended up in Canada. I'm also in Toronto, moved to Calgary, Alberta, settled, finally decided to start also my career almost all over again, starting in research and doing some other work within non-for-profit. I was fortunate to be able to lead, be at the top of managerial positions within some non-for-profits here in Canada. But I still felt there was just more. I still felt that was not just enough. I felt there was still something which I needed to unravel. For me, it was a journey, not just a physical journey, but was a journey
Mhm.
with myself in finding something that was bigger than me. And within my soul searching, within my meditation, and being a Christian, within the times I looked up to God to be able to say, why did you even create me? Right? I mean, yes, I could live a life, I could earn money, I could do quite a couple of things. was there a reason why I was created? I mean, that led me into start realizing that my journey was not by accident. There were some things that were already set for me. My skills, my abilities were meant for a reason. And
Mm.
that's where I realized I'd always been a coach because I did that within regular work. I did mentorship, I did hand holding, I did support lots of young entrepreneurs, young staff at that time, but that was not official. That was just something I was doing and just excited about doing. But I didn't realize that was what I was called. And because I discovered that I was called to that, that's when I went back to the coaching certification, did my ICF certification, and decided to start Doping and Co. Started Doping and Co. when I was still working full time. And that's where I realized there was more to that. And I had to not really just for the money. Yes, money as business, but it's so amazing to walk in your purpose on a daily basis. And so for me, that's how it linked up for me becoming a coach, building that into a performance consultant, which I am today. So that's a brief version of my story, Dr. B.
All right. Now, do you have a family that journeyed with you, or you've been doing this all by yourself? Or talk to me a little bit about how you've all these different places you've moved to. Is it just, hey, you just get on a plane and put your backpack on and you're gone, or is there more folks that are part of you that have to come alongside you?
I mean, when I left home, I was alone. I mean,
Uh,
right now, yes, I'm happy to have all the support I have in the world. Very lucky for us having a boy who's 16 years old, and that happened within the journey. So, but when I left home, when I was journeying, I was alone. I mean, I was doing
uh-huh.
all of this by myself. I was just one ambitious guy who wanted to do something bigger. So I was all alone.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit. What I want to really, because that journey when you leave, I mean, it messes with your identity a little bit, right? Because like when you're back home and you have all your brothers and sisters and family and around, there's this support system. And you didn't just leave, you left with a dream and a vision of what you're going to do, but you also left a whole bunch of people behind. It wasn't like, if you needed something, you could just run down, to the house across the street or a few miles away. You were like thousands of miles away in a place where you didn't know people. I'm assuming the language wasn't always exactly the language that you had grown up with, unless you just grew up knowing 4 or 5 different languages. So how's your identity as a man go, wait, I can do this. This is easy. This is simple. Talk to me
Oh
about your
my,
journey.
Dr. B. I mean, part of the books I have been privileged to write and collaborate in has been on resilience. Resilience has been a big part of my journey.
Mhm.
Living West and Central Africa, where I had parents, like I said, who were, average parents. I didn't grow up in a struggle. I grew up in a home, which I love my parents. They gave me the best, and that's why I was even able to travel because they were able to afford it, right? They gave me the best. They gave me all of their support. And just like you said, when you're back home, I mean, you can turn, you see your siblings, you see cousins, you see aunties, all of them that play a part. It's like a community that plays a part in helping you grow. And then you live alone into a foreign country, Scandinavian country, whose first language is Swedish. Yes, you're studying in English, but everywhere around you is a cultural shift. The food, the language, the people, they were loving, they were kind, but it's different. It's not home. And you keep reminding yourself that you're in a foreign country and that you need to adapt. So you need to change from who you grew up to where you are and what you're becoming. It was major for me, Dr. B.
Yeah. Well, and you think about not only the culture, but you think about the food that you want to have. I remember I was in the 80s when I went to Sweden, and I was thinking all the bread and heaviness of some of the food that they have there, compared to what I was eating as a kid and what was my, I can't remember fried chicken places. I can't remember even McDonald's, and some of like I think it was like the dairy stuff that was really thick milk and that kind of stuff. Where my grandpa had a dairy, And so when we needed milk, I would just go get, some milk, and it wasn't thick and as it was there. And I just remembered how much I miss it. And I didn't live there. I was just there for a few weeks and doing running track and doing some stuff. But I think if somebody who comes in there is used to, the culture and who cooks for you, and maybe your mom is cooking these meals, and all of a sudden you can't even buy the ingredients to make it yourself if you want to. And
You're right. You're right, Dr. B. You're right. I mean, I'm coming from back home where food was cooked. I mean, food
Mhm.
was cooked. Sometimes it might take 30 minutes to an hour to get food ready. You eat hot cooked food. Moving to a culture where it was a norm for cold sandwiches and all of those other things and baked goods and things like that, which sometimes you really feel you're out of somewhere else. You
Mhm.
wonder if you are actually yourself because you eat and then you feel like, I've not eaten. So I agree with you. It was a big shift, but I think the bigger part was the mindset because then
Okay.
I had to build my mindset. I had to keep reminding myself of why I'm there and where I'm going. So, yes, the food was major, but there were some things going up in my head, even within the struggles.
Well, and what I kind of see with the identity piece that's there, right? You can remember back in some of the things you were just like, man, do I stay? Do I go? I mean, that had to be some of your thoughts why you were there. But when you look back on it now and think of, I'm able to coach people through experiences, and without those experience, without that endurance, without that ability to stick with it, the courage to do it when it didn't feel like you should have, now that gives you probably, I would think, a hand up as you're coaching people that are now going through some of those struggles. Am I right there?
You're very correct. And that's why I said a lot of my writings have been on resilience because they made me who I am today. My experiences, my journey through resilience built me. The shift of my identity, trying to fit, trying to understand, trying to figure things out, got me to a place now that I can also support other people. I can hold them. I can tell them it's going to be okay. Even when all the everything is coming against them, I can tell them I was there before and I went through a few things and now I'm where I am because I went through that. It shaped
You
me.
went through it and you came through it. Oh my gosh. And I think about, like, it's one thing to trust the people that you've known your whole life, and you know who is good, who you can trust. The characters that run around that mama warned you about that you can't trust. And a lot of this podcast that we have here today is based on, I went to this trust event, and I learned all these things about trust, and then I came back and I'm like, why is my community not being able to access some of these trust information? But I can imagine it even a greater trust when you're in a foreign country. Like, how do you automatically, or do you automatically trust the people that you are now interacting with, that you're creating relationships with, that they're going to do right by you? And you have to develop, I guess, a system for, I guess, evaluating that trust, because you don't know those people. You don't know how they grew up. You don't know. I mean, they're in so many different places as you've been springboarded into. Maybe talk a little bit about how you show up. Do you just like, I'm not trusting anybody until they prove me I can trust them? Well, you can't get very far in creating relationship if you show up that way. But I'd love to hear kind of what system you developed to be able to cope there.
Yeah, and you're very correct, Dr. B. It's really hard to trust people that you just meet, especially when you move to a completely different culture. It's not a similar culture. It's not almost like moving from, let's say I moved from from West and Central Africa and went into a Black American community in the States. At least I know there are some cultures we share. No, I went to
Yeah.
Sweden. That was a very different culture. And that's a very different group of people. And don't get me wrong, the Swedes are nice people,
Good people.
but
Good
they are
people.
different, right? They're
Yes.
just different. And for me, what I needed to do is to make them trust me. And
Mm.
so I was working harder on myself to prove myself, because just as I was looking and saying, can I trust them? They were also looking at me and thinking, can I trust this black guy all across the continent who is now a student here? Can we trust him? Even when they gave me jobs I was doing, while I was studying, there were supposed to be trust issues, because can he deliver? Can he do those things? Where he comes from, does he do this type of things? I needed to prove myself. I needed to make sure I'm the best at my game. And that helped me not only build friendship, but I built trust. I built people who could look up and believe that if I give this to Robert, I'm sure he will give his all.
Yeah. When you were there, were there several other folks from Cameroon that you kind of could have a community with, or were you literally just out there by yourself?
I think I was fortunate that there were quite a handful of folks from Cameroon
Okay.
living there. I mean, one of my very first jobs that I got as a student was a connection from another Cameroonian that had been living there longer than myself, and who came to know me and who gave me the connection to be able to get, my first student job. The student jobs which you get while you're in university. So it was another Cameroonian. So I was fortunate, but even as Cameroonians, so even as people who have left their country, you're also skeptical of one another.
Of
You're all
course.
from different places, so it's almost like you still need to play. You are in a different world. Each of you need to play. I need to make this work. So you are also skeptical, but yes, there were a few people around that were Cameroonians, and over time I came to know more people. Over time I came to build relationships. Some of those are even sweets that I keep up to date.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, when I think like when I left home after high school to go to college, but I just went from Colorado to California. So I went to LA, and there was no culture change for me. In fact, two of the people that were in my high school that were on my track team came with me. We're all having fun. We're talking. I mean, nothing changed in my life where I felt uncomfortable at all, even for a little bit. I was an athlete here in Colorado. I was an athlete there, and so it wasn't until I started traveling overseas where I go, oh, wait a minute. I don't really know some of these cultures. But one of the things that you said that I thought maybe you can talk about your journey, because I don't want to go back in time. It's probably been a long time since you were put into Sweden, and I'm having you remember all these things. But one of the things that I think has been consistent in your life that I would love to know about is when you talked about personal development and working on you and having other people try to trust you. How much time, and has that changed over the year, did you spend, hey, I got to work on me first so then I can be able to serve others or be in relationship with others or be able to communicate with others? Because I think it's such a pivotal thing in our lives that we don't. So those of us who do it all the time take it for granted. And those that might be listening today, like they haven't even picked up a book since high school and they're 40 years old, right? They haven't done some of those that inside work that makes them more attractive as a professional or as somebody who develops relationships or understanding the person, I guess the need for these deep relationships, like you said, that you still have that even from the days when you were back there.
Yeah, Dr. B, I mean, I believe we're all a work in progress. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what we've attained, no matter how we've attained it, we always want to be better. For me, it always takes time. It takes time to build relationships. It takes time to be better. And every time you get better, you always want to see, is there another step above you that is much better than where you are right now? I'm not the type that settles for less or settles to say, well, it's good. I'm fine here. I just want to stay here. No. Every time I take a step, I want to look at, is there something better? And that's why I'll read books, I'll listen to, podcasts. I will take, trainings just for me to be better. And building relationships for me has been a constant. And just that building in person, it helps other people to trust me. It helps my credibility as a person, as a business, and also my interactions on the overall. So I hope I did answer your question towards the direction you wanted, Dr. B.
Yeah. Oh, you absolutely you did, because when we think about, and one of the reason that we write books, or you write books and I write books, is so that others can go down some of that journey. Maybe talk about what inspired you to write the books. Why did you want to write a book that other people could then read and do stuff?
Yeah, I mean that's a major one. I mean, I could say I started thinking about writing a book. I mean, right when I was all the way in my bachelor's degree. I started writing articles. I think that's where I started. I started writing articles, and my articles were inspirational. I mostly wrote articles that would inspire people. And I wrote articles. I featured in a couple of magazines back home on articles which uplifted people. And so, but when life got busy, taking more than one master's degree, work and things like that, it's so easy for you to be engulfed in the things of life. But at one point, I realized there's so many things I'm doing, and there are experiences that I've gone through. The best way for me to inspire other people is to put that down in a book. And so that's what
Mm.
brought me back. That was my inspiration to say, I'll put that down in a book. I was fortunate to connect with some people that had been writing before. And so they were more like a guide to say, yes, we know you've been doing some of these forms of writings, but now you want your book to be a bestseller. Now you want to get into a book that's going to, go across the world. And then they were able to support and guide me. And for me, that's a pleasure, is that I'm able to put things down in writing that will inspire someone.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, the things that inspired us are things that we want to share with others. I think that's part of the human experience, is to say, hey, I really had a great time doing whatever it is I did, and I want to share that experience with you. One of the things I love to ask you when I think about fatherhood, and I know you said that you have a 16-year-old son. And one of the questions I love to ask is, when we talk about kids needing a dad, and well, I think everybody agrees every kid or every child needs to have two parents if possible. They need to have a mom and they need to have a dad and experience both of them. But sometimes what we don't talk about is what it means to be a dad and how that actually changes us as dads once that happens. Yeah, I'm this free. I can go do whatever I want and move. In your case, go to country to that. All of a sudden, now you have the responsibility of a child. Tell me what it means to you. I see you smiling, like, yes. What does it mean to you to be that dad?
Oh, my Dr. B. I mean, I remember when I had my son, I was doing my first master's degree. It wasn't an easy time because I was doing quite a lot at the same time. But I remember when friends came to visit us when he was born, and they asked me, how does it feel like? Because most of them didn't have a child yet. And I said, how does it feel like to have a child? I told them,
Mhm.
when you have one, you wouldn't even be able to explain it. Because no matter how I explain it, it's a feeling of joy, but
Mhm.
it's a feeling of responsibility. Because at that point in life, there's someone looking up to you. And if your life is not shaped, you could mess up somebody's life. And you
Mhm.
know that if you don't have a purpose and a direction where you're going to, you could take somebody astray. And that's a small, innocent baby as he grows up and looks up to you. Being a dad for me is like being a mentor, being
Mhm.
that person where my son can look up to, my son can ask questions in life that he's still about to experience, where he could think and imagine that if there's one person that would lead me towards the right direction, that person is my dad. So for me, it's more than
Mhm.
just giving birth. It's more like a responsibility, and it's a responsibility that I embrace with joy, to be able to lead someone else, support someone else. Yes, there are challenges because as they grow, they change. As they grow, they evolve, from a child to a boy to a teenager, they evolve. And you also have to adapt as they change as they evolve. But there is joy in it because I still just I just take it in when I have
Mhm.
someone call me dad or ask,
Yeah.
Dad, can I do this? Dad, what do you think about this? It's very special for me.
Yeah. Well, and what's so cool about it, or what's so I guess both sides of the coin on that is there's no like handbook that just says, okay, here's how you be a parent to this child, and it doesn't matter how much education we have, right? Because you went to school, you're doing a master's, you're gonna get your doctorate, say all the education in the world isn't preparing me for this little child that now is my responsibility, like you said, to make sure or to hope that they're going to grow up and be more than we are, because we don't want them to be. And I can remember, like, I don't know, I can remember this show Roots, and I'm sure you've seen it since then. And that I had all these memories from it, and and when at the beginning of a lot of the shows, they would hold the baby up and they would say, "Behold the only thing greater than yourself." And I can remember, like, my son was born on July 2nd. So here in America, we celebrate July 4th as this Independence Day. And so there's all these fireworks going off on the day that we brought him home. And so I decided to take him out there, and I'm holding him up and saying, "Behold, the only thing greater than yourself." I didn't know what else to do, right? And then the thing, now that he's 38 years old, he's got children. He's got, he's has this amazing life. And I go, wow. And he still calls me dad, right? As if we're still in that same, time where, like, he couldn't eat without me, right? He couldn't, do anything. And you go, man, to be able to do that and to repeat it and to go, it just means everything. But it does change how you view the world and how you tackle the world. I don't know if it makes you, maybe for you, made you a little bit more reserved at the jobs you would take, because I can't just go take any job. I can't go be an intern again, because if I'm an intern and I'm doing this for free, then they don't eat. So it kind of determines some of the things you do, but at the same time, you can't wait to get home every day. Yeah.
I
I
agree
love
with
it.
you 100%. I
All
mean,
right.
I
I love
mean,
it.
when a
Love it.
child,
Love it.
when my child was born, no matter what I did, if there was one thing that was at the back of my mind is when am I gonna get home? When
Mm.
am I gonna get home? Because
Mhm.
each time I got home, there was one little small, lovely human being just jumping on me and wanting me to carry him. It's a feeling that is hard to explain, but it just makes a whole difference in the world.
So after if you had, like, how many different countries did you go to that he was able to live in and experience and new cultures, as he's been growing up? Has it just been Canada, or does he been lived in more?
Yes, so my son was born in Sweden. He got an opportunity to live in Denmark for a prolonged period of time when I was working in Denmark. So he was speaking Swedish because he was born in Sweden. He lived in Denmark. He was speaking Danish, and then we moved to Canada. So he's been able to experience three countries. I've experienced more, but he was able to experience three different cultures and three different countries.
Wow. Does he speak French too? Is
That's what I'm still trying to impart on him, to speak some French, because he was never born in any French related countries. I mean, we don't speak French at home.
okay.
English is normally the language. And so it's one of those things I'm really trying to give him an urge to say, you might want to learn French too.
Wow, but just to think of the culture he's been able to experience, and to think of that, what opportunities you've been um, able to give him through the whole process. So you talk about you doing some coaching now, and you're talking about all these experience, or we've been talking about all these experience you've been able to now impart on other folks in your coaching business. And as you get clients that are coming to you that are needing help, what would you say was probably the number one need that attracts people to you, and then what you're able to help them do?
Yeah, one of the major things which attracts people to me is that we help, organizations clarify, strategize on capacity for them to be able to build a system that has a sustainable output. A lot of what I do, I tell people my product is definitely not coaching. My product is fulfillment. I was
Mhm.
fulfilled myself. I was seeking fulfillment. And so everything I do with a client is for them to get fulfilled. First of all, clarifying why did you create a business? What's the reason for a business? It's so easy for you to mix being a worker and an entrepreneur, which means you were just a worker and tomorrow you jump into I want to own a business. But there's some clarity that needs to come in, and that's a product level of clarifying. And then you have to build a system, and that systems work within strategy. What are some of the strategies of your business? You might talk about, your strategy in terms of the output, but what parts are coming together
Mhm.
as one for you to be able to build a sustainable output, which means you can sit back and that system works on its own. You don't need to have your hand everywhere supervising everything, which means from the greeters of your business to the admin assistants to the production, right down to where you measure your impact needs to be part of a system. And that system is what will help our clients to build, is building that system in and out. We do that, first of all, we use coaching to diagnose. We use trainings, we use workshops, we use keynote speaking to be able to help build that and then direct them towards building a system which they can keep, they can document, and that can go in, year out, where even the entrepreneur can sit back and is happy. Even the founder, even the CEO of a nonprofit can sit back and is happy that a system is functioning, which to help create.
Oh, that's great. And what's kind of cool is, we understand that systems are usually whatever system is created is getting, if it's a good system, is getting out exactly what it was meant to do. And we've
Yes.
had some pretty bad systems in our country, and we've had some pretty good ones. But to be able to develop those and manipulate them and change those that can help people get the output seems to be something that would be a joyful experience as you see that happen. And with that,
Absolutely.
what are you most proud of all the things you've done in over your years?
I think what I'm most proud of, like I said in the beginning, I said, our output is fulfillment.
Mhm.
It's mostly when I get my clients fulfilled in what they are doing. I work with some of these entrepreneurs that are working so hard, but they are not so fulfilled because they don't join the dots together. They aim clarifying an output. It's more about putting so much work into a business. But you want to get fulfilled in what you create. You want to sit back and look at it almost like on a wall, and you're happy. And even tomorrow, this system will outlive you. And for me, that's the joy, is that I'm able to put a smile on somebody's face who finally gets it. Who know,
Mhm.
oh, yes. Oh, yes, I get it. I didn't know that this could work with this. I didn't know that I needed to put this together. I didn't see the difference between strategy and clarity. I didn't see the difference between my aim and where I'm going. And when I put all of those pieces together, for me, it's joy because I see that smile. It's like it clicks and they get it. And then I watch back even years after, I see that system working for them. I see them shaping it, refining it, updating it, reinventing it to make it better. That's my job.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. What outcome are you most excited about? We're filming this. I don't know when you're watching it here in the beginning of 2026, but as you think about an outcome of something that you just know is going to happen this year, something you've been working to, that you can't wait for to happen, you're working towards it. What would that be here in this year as we're moving through?
Oh my, Dr. B. I mean, the outcome is very obvious, and I really want to give credit to you because my very first conversation with you back then, we chatted about a few things.
Mhm.
And once we chatted about that, you asked me, have you thought about creating a podcast?
I sure did.
You don't know how that planted a seed of something that has always been there. And so I'm so happy to announce to everybody watching that we've created a podcast called Voices of Impact. We will be
Mm.
talking to people that are making a change around the world. We want people to be inspired. We want people to understand that even though there might be so many things happening negative around you, there are people making a difference and making this world a better place. And that is the goal of the podcast. We're starting to shoot in February. So just a few days from now, we'll start shooting. And so our show will be on air next month. So I'm really excited about that. And thank you, Dr. B, because you planted that seed. And for me, that's the value of seeds that you plant.
Oh my gosh. So excited about you doing that and the impact that I think you guys are going to be able to make. What's in the future? What is long term? You know, who you are 3, 5, 8 years from now? What's some of those long term visions that you have? I'd love to hear some of those.
There's so many things, but I think I will be doing your audience, myself, and you a disservice without really talking about my purpose and how I look at purpose. Because for me, that's a direction of what comes. So I just want to explain how I envision purpose. For me, purpose is like a journey. It's like living from one place to the other. And I want to use Sweden and Denmark, which is one of the places I lived for a couple of years. Malmo is the border between Sweden and Denmark, which is Copenhagen. And let's say you're leaving from Malmo and you want to go towards the Copenhagen airport or to go to Denmark, which is the capital city, Copenhagen. You have a couple of options to travel. You might use a regular vehicle and drive. You might take the bus, or you might decide to take the train. Either of these options might take you to your destinations, but how you get to your destination is one thing. A train has train tracks. And so a train keeps you in line within the journey. You might sleep on that train. You might read a newspaper. You might decide to listen to a podcast because you are sure that the driver is taking you to your destination. You don't have to worry about GPS and looking left, looking right, stopping on traffic lights. You imagine that you're going to get to the Copenhagen airport. Interestingly, the train that leaves from Malmo to Copenhagen goes underneath the ocean for 2.5 miles, 4 minutes. And you can imagine it's a tunnel. That tunnel is across the Horizon Bridge. And you're going underneath the ocean for 2.5 miles and you're not bothered. You're within the ocean. You don't have any life jacket. You're not sitting on a boat. You're sitting in a regular train to go underneath an ocean to get to the other side. Why? Because you trust the system and the builders of the tunnel, the train, and the train tracks. That's how I look at purpose. I look at purpose as something that's shaped from my origin. Where did I come from? Somebody thought about me. Somebody felt I should exist. Somebody loved me more than anything else, decided to create me. And in that creation, the person thought there are some things I could do. They gave me some skills, some techniques for me to be able to live in this world. If only I can find the direction which I was created for, then I'm on a train track. I just have to look back onto who created that track, who created a system for me, and say, lead me within my purpose. And it helps me to stay on track. I don't have to worry about GPS. I don't have to worry about traffic lights. I don't have to worry about turning. Yes, it doesn't come easy. There are challenges. But the person who made it knows it better. And I leave it unto him to take me through the track. That's the way I look at purpose. So talking about what I look forward within the coming month, within the coming years, is that I look forward to living my purpose. And that's why we reinvented, ourselves and added voice of impact, like we're talking about, Dr. B, based on that seed you gave. We looked at it and we asked ourselves, does this align with the purpose, one, for me, and two, for the business that was created? Yes, we wanted to make an impact. Yes, we wanted people to be changed. We wanted to impact lives. And that's why we created that podcast, which is going to be going live soon. So for me, anything I do is going to stay within my purpose. And when things go wrong, I will look up to who made me to be on earth.
Man, so neat. Thank you for sharing that. That's super impactful. I want to have a little bit of fun for a second, because I think I might know you a little bit, but I don't know. So I want you to tell me three things, two things about you that are not true, one thing about you that is true, and see if I can guess which one is the actual true thing that happened. It might be a little bit fun, because I'm really interested in, I'll say that after you tell me a couple of things. So your life, a couple things that are not true, one thing that is, and see if I can guess.
Okay. I'll just say three things. Okay. One, I sleep a lot in the morning, woke up maybe after 10. Two, I have 5 kids. And the third one is I've written quite a couple of books. The direction has mostly been resilience.
Yeah, you made it too easy for me. Because one, you are too committed to life and making a difference in people's life to be able to say, I'm going to get up at 10 o'clock in the morning. There is no way that you probably wake up around 6, and there's no way you can lay in the bed for 4 hours and not get up and do something that's going to make a difference. So I know that's not true. You haven't talked about 5 kids, and I can look at I have 8, so I know what it's like to have 5 kids. Your face doesn't have 5 kids. So I know that's not true. So it has to be the books. The books are what you've written and been able to do. So,
yes, you're very correct, Dr. B. I was trying to think of something difficult, but I still have to make it easy for you.
I get up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Oh my gosh. And and I don't even hardly have to know you to do that. I can see the results of your life to tell me that that's not true. And that is a testament to what you truly do on a daily basis in order to impact the world, and so I guess the only way that would work would be if you're going to bed at 3 in the morning, and then you need to sleep in until 10. But I don't think you're doing that either, because you do have a son and you do have a spouse and you do have those other things. So thank you for that. That's enjoyable. I always have fun doing that. As we kind of, wind into some of the things, finishing up today, I would love to hear about faith and health and how those two things you keep going. I mean, because sometimes we don't talk enough about our bodies and what we put into it and how we stay healthy enough to do and run the mountain we have. And then the mental side of it is, where does our faith come from and how do we navigate that? So maybe you can talk about those two things and how you apply those to your life.
Yeah, and Dr. B, you hit the nail right on the head. There are two things that we need to think about as we live on earth. One is mental, what we get inside. But number two is physical, which means if you really just let your body loose when you eat anything, you eat all the burgers, which they look good and delicious, and you eat all the fries that you can find at all the fast food chains and make life so easy because sometimes they're very cheap. It's definitely going to fall back on you. Within a short period of time, you're going to feel it. And one, it kills your energy. Two, it kills your motivation. Three, it kills the inner part of you that helps you die slowly. But if you focus on one, what you put inside of you, how you exercise. And exercise might not really be hitting the gym every day, or having to hit the gym for 1 hour. Sometimes it could even be taking walks, doing stretches at home, doing some of those basic things that keep you healthy, watching your diet, really combining a couple of things that makes it balanced, making sure your protein is up, and a couple of things, making sure you do your regular checkups. That's the physical that we need to take care of. But there's also the mental that we need to take care of. That's what's upstairs. How you feed that upstairs. Upstairs is very tough for me because I have decided to always have my affirmations. I call them vision boards. So I normally have those vision boards. Sometimes by my bedside, I also have them in my office, where I have those things that I affirm on a daily basis. And those things, I do them even in the morning. I wake up in the morning, I have those affirmations, I do my devotions, I have my meditation moments, because that's feeding upstairs, which I need to feed upstairs just so that it's healthy up there. I affirm a few things, I do some readings, which also builds upstairs, because growth is continuous. I need to read, I need to feed up there for me to grow. So those two things, they work hand in glove to keep me going, physical on one side, but also on the mental side, on the sanity side. That's what I call. I mean, we live in a world that sometimes it feels insane, but it helps keep me sane, Dr. B.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and that practice of the inner self and the mental side of that is so vitally important. And if we get up and all we're doing is running, and we never stop to reflect. For me, it's a devotional or something that I'm spending time with my Creator and saying, hey, how is it that I get to move through this world and be grateful? I think gratitude is a huge part of us being able to move forward, is saying, hey, everything in life isn't perfect, but I am so thankful for the things that I do have, the things that I get to have, the life that's been imparted to me. And without that, I guess, attitude of gratitude, it seems like it's not worth, it's not worth pushing forward and getting through those endurance things if we can't look back and be thankful for where we're at. And sometimes I think it's hard for this generation, because they have been entitled to so many cool things that without the struggles that go along with it, that sometimes it might be hard for them to go, wait a minute, this is, I get to turn on a light switch and lights come on, or like you said, you talk about fast food and the stuff we put in our body. Like, we didn't have so many fast food choices when I was growing up to be able to go to a mom and dad. Surely weren't taking me all these fast food places. And they take it for granted. Like, oh, I'm hungry. Okay, I'll just go out and grab something from the 15 different, places that are there, open 24 hours, right? Like 2 o'clock in the morning. Are you kidding? It's so thankful to be able to go get some at 2 o'clock. Woke up at 2 o'clock. You're like, you better go back to bed, boy. I mean, there was nothing that was there. So, so cool that you do it. As we're winding up, what did we talk about today that you want to make sure that we talk about? And then how do people get a hold of you? How do they get your books? How do they get to experience Robert in the way that I've been able to experience? So maybe kind of, share that, whatever we didn't talk about, and then how do we access you?
Thank you so much, Dr. B. I mean, life is never easy. I just really want to reiterate that we might say a lot of these things. I really want to inspire someone. I'm with you, Dr. B, really want to inspire someone, but life is never really easy. And some people might say, oh, it sounds like it was easy. It was never easy. There were challenges. There were sleepless nights. There were closed doors. There were people who told me I'm not good enough. There were people who told me out the door. But I never gave up. And I'll never give up. I kept believing in myself. I kept believing in the gifts, the talents that God had given me. And I knew that if I can just be consistent, if I can just continuously stay on course, doors will open. And that's exactly what's happening. So I really just want to throw that out there, that no matter what you're facing, no matter the times, the circumstances, the situations, it will come to an end if only you believe and stay on course. Keep knocking those doors.
Yeah.
Keep knocking them. Keep believing. And just talking about how people could get hold of me, my website is one of the best places. So it's www.ndopingco@gmail.com for my email, or just www.ndopingco.com for my website. So easy to get me in Ndoping CEO. You can also look me up on LinkedIn, which is Robert, the first name, Ndoping, the last name. Shoot me a DM. If you want to connect, I'll be more than happy. We also have our business channel on LinkedIn as well. We have a Instagram page. You can see us in Ndoping CEO. So Ndoping CEO is mostly a theme name. Just search for Ndoping CEO. You'll see us on Instagram, and feel free to reach out, touch base. I mean, sometimes it might just be you want to connect with someone. You want to talk with someone. I'll be more than happy. If it's a business, a nonprofit, an entrepreneur really looking to make something out of what they're doing, build a system that's sustainable, be able to help productivity grow by a measurable percentage, please reach out. We'll be more than happy to support.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, don't give up. I love it. I love it. Love it. For those of you who are watching, maybe this is your first podcast, and this is the first time you've seen us. And I would just encourage you to, hit the subscribe, hit the notification. We have so many great shows that I would love you to take in and take part of. Over 500 episodes now of all my podcasts together, and continue to do. I want to do 500 more as we keep going. One of the things I would love to leave with you is that you are God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. But more even than that is that you were born for greatness. There's greatness inside of you, and you need to let it out. And if you don't know how to do it yourself, reach out to Robert, reach out to myself, reach out to other peoples that can help you get to where you want to be. Sometimes in life, we think that we got to do everything by ourselves and on our own, and we shouldn't. I was thinking, I heard a guy give me an analogy today, and he said, if you were going to learn to fly a plane, would you go to YouTube and learn instructions on how to fly a plane and then start flying it? Or would you reach out to somebody who knows what they're doing and have them help teach you how to fly a plane? And it hit me like, there's no way. I mean, there's some things you can learn on YouTube, that are pretty simple. But for the bigger things that are in life, get somebody to help you. There's no reason to struggle through things, not with all the information that's on the planet right now, not with all the ability to find other folks who have gone before you that have been able to do it before you. So I hope you guys have an amazing, awesome, just incredible day today. Please go ahead and do whatever you need to do. We have a universe called, or I call it the universe. It's called Becoming the Person universe. And if you go to becomingtheperson.com, you'll be able to join us and see all the things we're doing. This Sunday, we're going to have a Connection Sunday every other week where we just get together and talk about stuff so you can be in relationships, so that you can learn from others how to move yourself forward. Robert, love you. If you have one more final thought before we end today, I would love to hear it. And we'll end as soon as you're done. Yeah.
Yes, I just want to add to what you said, Dr. B. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep staying at it. Don't give up. Keep doing it. You only perfect your act by doing it over and over and over again. And don't do it alone. Reach out to the experts that could support you, and reach out to accountability partners that are professionals that can help build you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to come.
Perfect. All right, you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you on the next one. I'll just say, not just be good, but do good. We'll talk to you later.